What I'm about to tell you is one of the strangest and most painful stories in American history. A story that shows how a man can survive a bullet yet still die because the people who were supposed to save him didn't know what they were doing. This is the forgotten tragedy of President James Garfield, a president who didn't die on the spot but slowly, painfully, and unnecessarily. It all began on the morning of July 2nd, 1881. Garfield woke up peaceful, in good spirits, ready to travel from Washington, D.C. He walked into the train station like every other passenger, smiling, greeting people, not knowing that someone standing behind him had already decided that today would be his last normal day on earth. In that same station was a man named Charles Gutierrez. The man who believed the president owed him something. Gutierrez was not a criminal on the run. He wasn't a political enemy. He was simply a man obsessed with power. For months, he had been disturbing government officials, begging them for a big job he clearly wasn't qualified for. But when everyone ignored him, something snapped in his mind. In his strange thinking, he believed God had chosen him and that killing the president would make him a hero. So as Garfield walked calmly through the station, Gutierrez followed closely behind him, and before anyone understood what was happening, two gunshots exploded in the air. People screamed. Chaos broke out. Garfield collapsed. But here is the part many people don't know. Those bullets did not kill him instantly. In fact, one bullet passed through without hitting any major organ. The second bullet was lodged somewhere in his body, but it was not fatal. Garfield could have lived, he could have survived, and that is what makes this story so much more painful. Because what happened next is this real tragedy. The doctors rushed to him immediately, but instead of helping him, they made everything worse. They did not use gloves, they did not wash their hands. They kept digging their dirty fingers and unclean metal tools into his wound, trying to find the bullets. They kept searching, pushing deeper, causing infection, causing more damage than the gunman did. Even when one doctor told them to stop touching the wound, they refused. They believed they were helping, but they were slowly killing him. For the next 80 days, Garfield suffered fever, infection. He lost weight until he looked like a shadow of himself. His body was fighting for life, but the infections the doctor caused were stronger. Every day he became weaker. He tried to stay brave for his wife, who sat beside him, crying but praying. Americans gathered outside the White House every night, waiting for news, hoping for a miracle, but the doctors refused to admit the truth that the worst injury came from them, not the gunman. In the end, on September 19th, 1881, almost 3 months after he was shot, Garfield breathed his last. And do you know the saddest part? When they examined his body later, they discovered the bullet that so many doctors were digging for was actually in a safe place. It had not harmed anything serious. If the doctors had simply left the bullet alone and kept the wound clean, Garfield would have survived. He would have lived. Oh my God, imagine surviving a gunshot only to be killed, only for your life to be ended by those who were meant to save you. The man who shot him was found guilty, but history says the bullet wasn't the real cause of death. Ignorance was. This story is a reminder that sometimes tragedy doesn't come from the enemy. It comes from the mistakes of the people we trust. That is the heartbreaking story of President James Garfield, a president who didn't die from gunfire, but from carelessness. This is so painful, but nevertheless, the gunman also had the fault for actually shooting at him. The doctors were actually trying to help, but probably they didn't know what exactly to do, or maybe they were confused. This is a heartbreaking story. I remind your boy Travis, do like this video, please share it, subscribe, and comment your thoughts about this. Thank you.